Bisa dimulai aja kali ya.
Welcome to Nusantara, the Southeast Asian archipelago. It is the birthplace of humanity, in our long journey of civilization. A homeland for human ancestors, for the last 1.5 million years. A place where our early ancestors have roamed a vast land of opportunity. Shared the space with many other wonderful creatures. Leave us the evidence of human evolution and their adaptation to the environment. Who are they? What do they look like? And how do they live their life? For almost 2 decades, the Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies has contributed to revealing the answers. Behind CPAS is a group of passionate scientists with global networking in prehistory and Austronesian studies. Our mission is to provide best practices in the framework of archaeological research and development. Pushing the values of our research beyond the knowledge. Reveals the national identity. Enriches our understanding of cultural developments. Unveil the reason behind our strong character of diversity. Narrates the story of ethnogenesis and the foundation of our nation state. Preserving our past as a heritage for the wealth of our future generation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Rahayu. Izinkan saya membawakan acara siang ini dalam bahasa Inggris. Honorable Chairman of Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies, CPAS, Prof. Truman Simanjuntak. Our speaker for online Talkshow CPAS, Dr. Pira Veunan. And honorable all participants of this online Talkshow. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to our online public Talkshow Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies, CPAS, episode 36. I am Adi Agus Octaviana, the moderator of today's online Talkshow. I am very pleased to see you on Zoom meeting and YouTube channel, CPAS, and welcome all of you to this event. First, we invite Prof. Truman Simanjuntak to give the introduction and opening the online talk show. Prof. Truman, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Adi Agus. It's raining here. Hard raining. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you is fine and can enjoy this talk show this afternoon. So today is a special day for the Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies. Why? Because today is the 36th talk show. It means that we have already organized scientific discussion for 3 years. Every month in 3 years without interruption. And I think this is a great achievement, yeah, that we have to, yeah, appreciate it, I think. And I imagine that we have already discussed so many topics or issues, yeah, in various scientific perspectives or topics, yeah, by inviting distinguished scholars, yeah, from Indonesia or even from overseas countries as narasumber, as resource persons. So I was thinking it will be the good or very, very good if all of the topics or issues one day could be published in a book. Yeah. So it will give enlightenment in the field of prehistory and Austronesia to public. Yeah. And I think it will be the great contribution of the CPAS for advancing science and exploring Indonesian values, yeah, that become the foundation of our nationality in the present. But I think we will discuss about this later, yeah, not for this time. So, colleagues, in this 36th talk show, we'll discuss archaeometallurgy in Thailand. Yeah, talking about archaeometallurgy is always very interesting. It is a never-ending research. Why? Because archaeometallurgy is considering, yeah, as one of the important milestones in universal civilization. That's why, yeah, during the last 2 months, we focused on the discussion of archaeometallurgy. Last month, we discussed about archaeometallurgy or early metal in Malaysia. And today we will discuss about the same topic, early metal or early metallurgy technology in Thailand. We hope that in the next talk show, we can discuss about the archaeometallurgy in Vietnam, in the Philippines, and in the other Southeast Asian countries. Yeah. I think it's very, very important because by doing so, we will enrich our knowledge about the development of metal in Southeast Asia. So on behalf of the Center for Prehistory and Austronesian Studies, I would like to take this opportunity to thank very, very much Dr. Pira Veunan and archaeometallurgy researchers from Silpakorn University in Bangkok, yeah, who will share his knowledge with us today. I know him when he invited me to a seminar held in Bangkok about 10 years ago. And yeah, I also read several his publications, and it's very interesting. And it seems that in Thailand is the country where the early metal is earliest in the other in Southeast Asia than in other countries in that region. I think so, but I don't know exactly. Maybe nanti Pira akan menjelaskan itu later. I think we have to know many more about archaeometallurgy in Thailand and in Southeast Asia, yeah, by following the speech of Pira Veunan. So thank you very much, Pira, for your time, and also many thanks to all participants, and of course including the CPAS members who have prepared this talk show today. Yeah. So again, thank you very much. I return the time to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank
Truman,
you.
for the introduction and opening. Now I would like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Pira Veunan, graduated from the Archaeology Department at Silpakorn University with a Bachelor of Arts in 2005 and a Master of Arts in 2010, specializing in prehistoric archaeology. He then studied at the Institute of Archaeology, University College London, earning a Master of Science from 2010 to 2011 in Technology and Analysis of Archaeological Materials, and finally completed his doctoral studies on Archaeometallurgy at the same university from 2011 to 2016. After graduating, Dr. Pira became a lecturer in the Department of Archaeology at Silpakorn University. His most recent publication is Beyond Community Craft Specialization in Prehistoric Mainland Southeast Asia ASEAN Metallurgy, Copper Smelting Behaviors at 𝘗𝘍𝘭𝘪𝘯𝘦 from Tintai and Takai in Central Thailand, which was published last year in Asian Perspective with other college. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Pira Veunan. The time is yours.
Thank you very much. Can I share the... So, I hope you can see my PowerPoint.
Yes, yeah. Very clear.
So thank you very much for the opening remarks, especially from the Professor Simanjantap. And to begin my presentation, I would like to also thank you, the CPAS, and also its staff to make this happen, and also inviting me to share with you about what we currently know about the archaeometallurgy in Thailand. So that's going to be my topic, because one thing that I find quite difficult is that just to condense everything into like 45 minutes. So what I'm going to talk today is mainly draw from like my own works, as well as the work from our fellow archaeometallurgists working in Thailand. It's not going to be like cover every single topic out there, because that's going to be more or less impossible. And more or less you may hear more about like archaeometallurgy in Southeast Asia from other scholars anyway, if we get in the future. So just to I said, to cover the current situation of archaeometallurgy in Thailand. So I pick up like three main metals that normally been studied like widely in the Thai archaeology. So that's going to be the copper, iron, and also another one, which is probably like the very recent discovery in Thailand, is the brass. So these are going to be the three metals that I'm going to talk today. So I try to go, and then the way that I'm going to present today is just to pick up some sort of the issue rather than go through like what do we know about the metal in general. So I just pick up like in terms of exchange, the technological variation, and as well as the new discovery on the brass production. That's going to be the area of the topic that I'm going to discuss today. Yes. So starting with the first one. So this is going to be the debates on the prehistoric copper production and exchange. And the very first topic I'm going to talk today is about the changes in copper exchange patterns between the Bronze Age. And the Bronze Age in the mainland Southeast Asia, where we talk about the 11th century BC to the 5th century BC, and all the way to the Iron Age. That's going to be starting from the 5th century BC all the way to the 5th century AD. And when you talk about the copper exchange patterns or network, if you like, it is near impossible if not to talk about the work by Dr. 𝘊𝘗𝘭𝘪𝘯 and his Southeast Asian late isotope project. And that's starting from 2008 or 9, if I don't miss it. And so far, until now, he already analyzed more than 1,000 Southeast Asian metal objects, mainly copper-based objects from the prehistoric period. So that's probably like the largest database that we have at the moment. And also part of his study, he produced a lot of the late isotopic analysis. Late isotopic data. And if you don't work in archaeometallurgy, so late isotopic analysis, we use it to try to do the metal provenance, try to link between the ore source or the production site and also the object. Try to probably, if you like, we try to reconstruct the chain operatoire of the study through the late isotopic analysis, try to see the movement of the metal from one end to the other end. And throughout, like from now it's like almost 20 years now. This isotopic late isotopic data has been moved into the study of the network modeling. So basically, he used the network modeling to try to like better access his data and link to the general archaeological context, try to understand about the exchange and the network that involved in the movement of the copper in the mainland Southeast Asia. And when you talk about the movement of copper in the mainland Southeast Asia, we have to talk about the ore sources first. Well, in general, you have like many copper deposits throughout the mainland Southeast Asia. But in terms of the archaeological evidence of the copper ore sources, it's just only 3 main mines that we have, like we have a solid archaeological evidence to accompany with. So that you have Pulon in northeast Thailand, so close to Mekong River. And then you have 𝘊𝘗𝘈ᴏ Valley in Lopburi, and that's in central Thailand. So these two, if you read the paper, probably like in 1990s or probably early 2000, these two always cited as like the main producer and distributor of the copper in the mainland Southeast Asia, until the study of the Silpakorn in Laos in after 2011-2015, that we start to see that Silpakorn is also another main player in producing copper and also distributing copper throughout the mainland Southeast Asia. And the late isotopic data that Dr. Price produced throughout the 10-20 years so far is actually providing us like the better picture of how the copper movement between these 3 mines and then how that linked to the consumption site in different period. So in his network modeling paper in 2023, he can So he tried to use he used the laser-topic data to create what so-called the interacting sphere based on the laser-topic data, and then he can at least identify 4 different sphere or communities involved in the copper exchange. So you have the Yunnan like north-south tendency, and you have the Yunnan which is east-west. So that's going to be the this is from the link between the mainland Southeast Asia and the Yunnan in the South China. So that in the north-south tendency, and you have the Yunnan, which is like the upper part of the mainland Southeast Asia, linked with the Yunnan, but in the east-west connection. And then you have Sebon, which is a reliably complex in Laos, connecting with the majority of people in like the upper part of mainland Southeast Asia. And for the 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley, it's quite limited. So you have, it's just only from the central Thailand and probably to the west of the mainland Southeast Asia. So with this picture, you can already see that 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley or even Pulon is not actually in the picture. It's not that really active as the pre-2000 paper thought about. So now we can say that it's actually Sebon that play quite an important role distributing the metal throughout the Southeast Asia. But then for this particular talk, because I have to talk about the Thailand, so I'm going to focus on this yellow one, the 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley in central Thailand. So we analyzed the sample that belong to the Bronze Age and also the Iron Age, trying to see if there are any different. So this is a combination between Dr. Price's work and also my own work, trying to see is there any like link or thing that we can talk more about this yellow sphere here. And during the Bronze Age, what we can see is that the 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley is actually active only in the western part of Thailand. So you have the central, so the active sphere, if you like, is focused mainly in the central Thailand here and extended all the way to Myanmar. So that's in 𝘊𝘗. So that's what you have for the circulation from this particular mine. But then when you look to your right, the blue sphere here, you see that the Northeast Thailand, even they have their own, even they have Pulon and also 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley, which is not that far. They got the copper from the Sebon mine. So that is quite interesting to see because now we see that the Sebon is actually quite active for the Northeast Thailand. While if you go to the central Thailand and the western Thailand, that's going to be the area for the 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley. So with this, at least you can see that at least 2 spheres have been active at the same time during the Bronze Age. And once you move into the Iron Age, what is quite interesting to see that even 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley, that's you have the copper mine as well as the copper producing communities, like the name that Dr. Veunan just mentioned, like 𝘊𝘗𝘆𝘆𝘀, 𝘊𝘗𝘆𝘀, 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝑐𝑎𝑙𝑠𝑖-on. Those actually are the copper producing, copper smelting sites that we found in 𝘊𝘆𝘆𝘆𝑗 Valley dated to the Iron Age. From the laser-topic data that Dr. Oliver Price did, what we see is that we see the importation of the copper from the central Laos from the Villabli complex. So that's quite interesting that even you produce your own copper, you still imported a lot of copper from the central Laos. So this is so the interpretation that we try to say here is that it's probably so we have to probably think more about probably the exchange market that even or it's probably like the competency of the copper producing community itself. Maybe import the copper from other producer, probably cheaper or probably more efficient than you produce your own copper. So that's one of the idea that we got in that paper. And then when you move to the Northeast Thailand, the picture remain the same. It's quite consistent quite persistent in the sense that they still got a lot of copper from the central Lao, from the reliability complex. So the Bronze Age, you have at least two active sphere going on. But once you move into the Iron Age, it's seaborne that probably like the main player distributing the copper throughout the mainland Southeast Asia. So that's one of the things that we what we try to do now is that because now we're working with the Department of Geology of the Chulalongkorn University, and also Dr. Olo Price, try to redefine the isotopic characteristic of the copper mine, the copper ore, or copper deposit in Thailand. Although we already have like ꘊ𝘗𝘈𝘚 and Pulon, but what we try to see here is that if is there any like small deposit, or is there any like other deposit that probably contribute to the better scrutiny or better assessment of the isotopic data. So maybe we can identify more ancient copper deposit that we do not know before. So now we move back to the very basic, like try to redefine geological characteristic of the copper deposit first, and then see if they're going to help better the picture of this exchange, copper exchange in Thailand. So that's going to be for the first topic. So for the second one, now we just talk about the copper smelting. Now we move into the second area of the secondary copper production. So I have to say here is that compared to the copper smelting, the secondary copper-based production receive probably fewer attention compared to the smelting. So even we found a lot of crucible, we found a lot of the secondary slag production. Still, we don't really know much about how they produce copper or bronze or like the workshop that they have. So this is another sphere that we can pay more attention in terms of the research question. But for this presentation, I draw from my own work at ☊ in northeast Thailand. So you have 꽊𝘗𝘈𝘚 that we just talked now. That's Pulon, that's seaborne. So ☊ is quite close to the Mekong River here, so all the way to the border between Thailand and Laos. So the site is a settlement with the burial. So we found a lot of human skeletons, and also the secondary production for bronze and iron. So for bronze, we found the crucible, probably the crucible for mostly for melting, and probably for alloying. And for the iron, we found a lot of slag. That's probably the smithing slag. So far, we have not identified any primary production in this area. So probably this settlement received the copper or iron from somewhere else, and then they transform that into the object at the site. Because we also found a lot of the ingot here, as well as the finished copper-based product here. But then the interesting about this site is that from the work by the fine art department, and also my mentor, Ajahn Sulpakorn, they also found the mold fragment for the bronze drum, the kettle drum, the bronze ☊𝘗𝘚, famous ☊𝘗𝘚 drum, at this site as well. And you can clearly see it from the detailed pattern on the fragment mold that can be compared to the decoration on the drum itself. So these sample here were subjected to the archaeometrical analysis. So doing petrography analysis with my colleague at my department, and also do some the elemental analysis, trying to see we can see any trace, as well as trying to do the layeroscopic analysis as well. But one thing that we found from the petrographic analysis is that well, you can see from the above picture here, the three picture with the yellow dashed line here, you can see there's at least two layers involved in making this mold. So you have the upper part here, the orange-ish part here. It's basically it's quite a coarse clay. But then once you go into like the black layer here, it's very fine, heavily tempered with the organic matter. And so at first, I was just wondering like why, until I talked to the traditional craft people that still now they're still doing the lost wax technique, the bronze lost wax techniques, and also the brass casting as well. They mentioned that in the process of making this, what you do is that so in the lost wax you have the clay the clay ball in the middle, right? And then you wrap it with the wax. And after that, you make a pattern on top of the wax. And to preserve those patterns onto the mold itself, what you do is that you start to apply the fine clay first. So that's going to be your black layer here, and that's going to preserve the wax pattern that stay on. And once you finish that, you wrap it again, you apply it again with the coarser clay, just to and then you fire it and to make the gap, and then you casting the bronze the molten bronze into the mold. So what I'm trying to see here is that it's actually show a link between the prehistoric tradition, prehistoric craft practice, and also the traditional craft practice. So now we're talking about like 2,500 years apart, but then you can still see like the persistence of the craft practice in the nowadays craft community. And at the same site, after we analyze all the crucible, especially the slag layer on the crucible fragment, one thing that we actually found is this guy, the white guy here. There's actually seem to be the remnant of cassiterite, which is expectable, because if you want to make a bronze, the bronze is the copper mixed with the tin. So the tin ore is actually cassiterite. But then it's always the question whether you melt the two metals, like the copper metals and tin metals together, or you do what we call the cementation. So you have the solid copper and the tin ore together. And having found this cassiterite remnant in the slag layer is probably quite a clue or a hint, saying that probably they doing the cementation rather than using the two metal and melting together. And this cementation evidence is already found in 𝘊𝘗𝘆𝘐, that's in the south. So this is probably like the new evidence that make us like have to rethink about the way they're doing the bronze during the Iron Age. So 2 weeks ago, my colleagues and I, we just set up like the small furnace, try to play with this cementation thing, and that's actually is actually work. So you have the solid copper, put that in the crucible, and then you put and when until it's melt, and then you just pour the tin ore in and let it react it within the crucible, and what you get is actually the bronze out of the crucible. But I still haven't analyzed. I still have to analyze it to make the better understanding of the material later. And so that's going to be the end of the second issue. And now moving to the second metals, talking about the iron production, which is this is the main area that I'm mainly working with, the iron production. And this is continue from my PhD as well. So unlike the debate on the emergence of the copper and bronze technology in Thailand, and also in the mainland Southeast Asia, iron, we see no issue involved in the debate on the dating. So we have the consensus that the iron emerged in the mainland Southeast Asia around like a 5th century BC to the 5th century AD. But then the interesting is that if you look at the evidence of the primary iron production, which is the smelting site for the iron finished object, it's actually very few. So you have 괊𴑐ᴜ Batu that claim to be probably the oldest in the mainland Southeast Asia with 7th, 6th century BCE, but still like a bit questionable. But then if you look at the majority of the site that I show here, most of them fall into like the 2nd century BC or late in the later period. So even you have the finished object by 5th century AD, but the evidence for the early iron smelting is like 200 or 300 years later. And even though we have a lot of slag sites in mainland Southeast Asia, but I would say here that is probably less than 10 early iron smelting sites that have been fully excavated or fully archaeometrically dated or analyzed. So that still leave a lot of the research gap that we can still play with. But anyway, with the data that we have now, one of the things that I can discuss here is that we start to see what so-called the variability within the smelting technology. So if you study about the craft production, it's always one of the issues that we as archaeologists interested about the craft production is that the technological variability and also the technological choices and technological style. And to discuss about this, we had to go through like the different cases of that and try to do the comparison, try to see if we can say more about the human metallurgical practice, human action involved in producing metal, in this case, iron. So starting with the type of the furnace. So this is for the whole Thailand, this is probably like the 4 mostly complete furnace we have so far. As you can see here, it's not complete at all, but it's the best we have at the moment. So majority of them have been interpreted as the shaft furnace. So you just imagine like the Kuno shape. But then the majority of the vestige or like the evidence that we found from the excavation lack of the superstructure. So maybe because of them at the end of smelting, they just knock off the superstructure just to get the bloom. And now I'm talking about the direct smelting process. So you get like the big bloom that you have to taking out from the furnace here. But even with the remain, you can see here that they have a different setting going on in terms of the furnace design. So even they follow the same direct smelting method, but in terms of the design of the furnace, it's totally different. And one of the furnace I want to point to you here is actually the work from my colleague working in the northern Thailand. So he found this furnace in the middle of the forest, right? But the interesting thing is that no 괊𝘍 have been found from the excavation. So there's no like the tube that's to channel the air in. And the furnace is circular, which is quite common, and nothing like surprise here. But then what you see here is that this inlet here, this hole here, is actually the conical opening penetrating the furnace wall at the angle of 30 to 40 degrees and spaced 10 centimeters apart. So the smelter actually like intentionally designed to put the inlet in this orderly fashion. But then no 괊𝘍 found. So basically, my colleague just curious, like why? So what he did is that he threw in the experiment. So he did the iron smelting experiment, trying to recreate the furnace from the remain. And you can see here that so for this so it's not really the experimentation, but probably like some experiential archaeology, try to see or get the feeling of how the furnace gonna work. If you have like this small inlet throughout around the furnace. And the interesting is that because the inlet is in the angle of 30 to 45 degrees, so when you channel the air in, it's going to create the cyclone airflow within the furnace. And you can clearly see that from the finished product, the bloom itself, the iron and slag mixture from the furnace, which is turned into this shape, because the hot zone is just around the bloom itself. So that's create like the donut-like the bloom. And this is probably the very first evidence or very first example of this kind of furnace in Thailand, if not the whole mainland Southeast Asia. So yeah, this is another question that my colleague have to continue to explain why, or like, is there any comparable evidence in this area or in Thailand? So that's the variability that we see in the furnace setting. So for the second one that we see, the variation is actually the use of the ore itself, the ore selection. So in the central Thailand and also in the northern Thailand, we see that the main ore they use is actually involve hematite and magnetite, which is a typical oxidic iron ore. But then once you move into the northeast Thailand, so far with them like Ban Dong Plong and Ban Khao Din Tai, Ban Sai Tho Jet, as well as Phok Khan, this iron smelting site is typically accompanied with the laterite. So you have the laterite nodule coming out from the excavation. And my PhD is actually based on this, try to assess whether the laterite could have been smelted. And we do the testing, like archaeometric testing with that. It's actually smeltable, but then it's involved in very like tricky condition. So involving like you have a lot of adjustment you have to deal with using the laterite. And what an explanation, that's why the Northeast Thailand is quite associated with the laterite, is because if you look at the geology itself, if you the red spot here is the iron deposit. There's actually no iron deposit in the Northeast Thailand, and that because of the geology is incompatible with the ore formation, the metal ore formation in this area. So laterite is also the iron-containing secondary geological materials, and I think somehow the local smelter adapted to that particular material that they have, and then come up with a new way to do the smelting and to win the metal of their desire here. So apart from all, you can also see there's also the technical variation in the air inlet as well. So the different 2 years going on, and in the end, doing a lot of the PSRF analysis, you can actually see there is a difference in smelting conditions. When we talk about smelting condition, is that the way the smelter operated the furnace. So different operation, so different outcome. Even you have the bloom at the end of the process as well, but then the slag can tell you that they operate the furnace in a different way. So this is another data that we can still play, we can continue to play with and try to explain the difference in the metallurgical behaviors involved in the people in Thailand during the prehistory. So apart from the smelting, in the recent years, we also found more and more iron smithing evidence as well. So which is actually quite rare to find in the Thai context anyway, because one thing is that you need someone to know how to differentiate between the smelting and smithing slag. That's one thing. So far we have only 2 cases, but probably in the future we're going to have more and more. So that's from the southern one is from southern Thailand, from 𝘊𝘗. So you have the smithing heart. That's the heart where you do the hammering. And this is from the Ban Sai Tho 7 in Venunan province. So you see the heart and a lot of the smithing slag going on here. And then come to the very last examples or instance that I would like to share with you here is the very new evidence from the work by the FAD archaeologists working in northern Thailand. So when we talk about the brass consumption or the use of brass in the Thai context, most people gonna think probably in 19th century, because that's when we start to see the rise of the brass consumption in the historical landscape of the Thai history. But then when you turn into the elemental data, elemental analysis, analytical data of the copper-based artifacts, you're gonna see from time to time the presence of the zinc oxide or zinc on the zinc in object. But that you talk about like 1, 2 or to 5%, up to 5%, which is probably just the addition from the ore sources, not like intentional added into the metal. So yeah, so for the brass, it seemed to be like the new technology in the 19th century. Until my colleague worked in Nong Lom in Chiang Rai, so that's very not like almost like into the Myanmar here. So he found a lot of the crucibles from his excavation, and the area here is they have the settlement from the 15th to 17th century AD. So that's during the Kingdom of Lanna period. So from the crucible, initially he thought that it's probably the bronze making crucible, which is quite common anyway, because there are a lot of the bronze sculpture being produced during this period. But then, if you can see here, there's actually the white crust at almost at the mouth of the crucible here, which is actually the white indicator of the zinc oxide. And then he used the PSXRF to identify what kind of the crust that we're talking about. And it turned out to be actually a lot of zinc involved in this fragment. And also to confirm that, he also analyzed the metallic inclusion in the crucible fragments. And you can see that it's actually like the proper zinc. So you talk about the 30% zinc in the metals. So yes, this is the very first evidence of the brass production in Thailand. But then the metal itself need a lot of attention. This is a major gap in the evidence of the brass production and the consumption, even not only in Thailand, but also in the mainland Southeast Asia. And that's gonna you can actually move into like a different questions that you can ask. The transmission of the production practice of the North, probably in China, because this is a period that China started to mass produce the brass. So and also the Kingdom of Lanna have a very good relationship with the China. So probably that we can see the transmission of the knowledge. And what about the brass consumption during this period? You have the brass production here, but what about the consumption? Can we see that from the metal objects during this period? And also, what about the earlier? Do we actually have the earlier evidence, or this is like just only evidence throughout the history of the Thailand? Yeah. So sorry about the time. So this is going to be the very last one that I want to share with you today. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. And also for the last, I would like to thank again the Center for the Prehistory and Austronesian Study and its team, especially the Professor Truman Simanjantak, and also Harry Sofian, and also the Fine Art Department for some data that I cite here. And also to the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pira Veunan. Okay, so we move to question and answer session. We invite maybe for the first 3 participants who want to ask question. Maybe Di sini ada Prof. Cecep, Pak Ketut. Oke.
Maybe me, man. Oh, the
Oke.
first one.
Kenapa?
At the beginning, Pira.
Ya, silakan Mas Arif.
So, yeah, yeah. Thank you, yes, it's very interesting, Pira. It's a very new knowledge for me about the in Thailand research is already deep, very deep. I think is so. I have a question about the cassiterit. This one is tin oxide. So it's very interesting about this one because if we know is in Indonesia we have the like an tin ore. In Bangka Islands, it's like that. So you think we have the any connection with that? And the second one is about the cyclone furnace. This one is quite new too because in Indonesia we only found about the furnace is quite early, quite recent. I think it's in Kalimantan Island. So it's the last the dating we found is quite old. It's around the beginning of the 1st century, I think. This one. So it's the furnace is the base is made it from the rattan. So it's the form is made from the rattan. It's like that. So so I think it's you already think about the there's a connection between the mainland and the island in Indonesia. It's about the form of the furnace. The third one is about the brass, I think. So it's very interesting too about the brass because if we see about the zinc, it's very different with the others. If zinc is zinc is will be evaporate during the smelting.
Yes.
So in Indonesia, zinc is the first of millennium. We didn't find any evidence of the artifact from the brass at all. So if it is but in the second millennium we found it little by little. But in the first millennium we didn't find. So how about in Thailand about the artifact, this one in the first millennium? So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, sorry. So thank you very much for the question, Harry. So I go through your question first. The cementation. So yes, the Bangka island, that's like a tin island. That's like the whole island is actually made of tin. Very fascinating island, to be honest. But that's at the end of so-called the Southeast Asian tin belt. You know that already, like starting from the mainland Southeast Asia and then move all the way to Bangka. But I think it's basically the remnant of the cassiterite that we found in 𝘊𝘗 and also in 𝘊𝘗ᴏ𴅗. It's actually asks us to rethink about how they do the alloying of bronze, whether they because I mean normally we just assume that you have like the copper metal and the tin metal, put that in the crucible, melt together, and then you create the bronze. But that you have is actually two steps. You have to smelt copper, you have to smelt tin, and then use the metal to mix together. But if you do the cementation, which is it's not uncommon anyway, because we have a lot of evidence that in European context, doing cementation of bronze. But for Thailand, I would say it's not about the finding of the it's probably like the thing is that you need to do a lot of the analysis on the crucible itself, trying to see whether how they practice the alloying during different periods, especially in the Iron Age. And the cementation is probably make it more quicker, if you like, because now you pour just copper into the crucible together with the molten copper, and then that's gonna turn into the bronze. And there's a lot of experiment being done in the European context anyway, showing that is actually possible. And there's a long paper last year being published, like from the PhD from Cambridge, talking about like to rethink about the copper tin alloying process in the prehistory in European context. Did I answer your question? And for the second one about the cyclone furnace, yeah, this is actually like quite interesting because well, especially for me, because I'm working mostly with the iron smelting like production site. And normally what we found is just like we normally assume it's gonna be like so you have the tuyere pointing into the furnace, blow the air in, and that's going to create the blue for the direct smelting process. This is a rare instance for the whole country, if not the whole mainland Southeast Asia. That's showing that you actually have the different adjustment of the air inlets, so that intentionally to create the airflow within the furnace. Not sure why. I've been discussing a lot with the excavator here, and also the main the principal investigator of this site. Try to find any possible plausible explanation, like why you have to design like this. And this furnace is actually dated to the second century BC, so that's quite early. In terms of the Iron Age in the mainland Southeast Asia. So that's like right at the beginning of the Iron Age. You already have like a special setting of the furnace, a special design of the furnace. That's quite different from other kind of furnace. And this probably just only one, as I say, just one example for the whole Thailand. So I'm really not sure like how to link that with Indonesia, but yeah. But I think one of the things that you really have to pay attention to is that the way they put the air in, and also the way they tap the slag out. That's probably tell you how the design that the smelter had in their mind when they built the furnace, because that's gonna getting the air in and then getting slag out. That's one of the two important factors of designing the furnace. Yeah. And for the last one, the brass, yes, as I mentioned during the talk, that the majority of the brass objects we see more and more in like after 1900 AD. Yeah, we see more and more, and normally we assume that it's probably like the importation of the brass from the European context, and that probably linked to the trend in the loyal societies, like loyal elite societies that they use, and then turn into like promote the use of the brass in the Thai communities. Before that, normally we only see the zinc coming up from the PRs from the elemental analysis, like 1 to 5%. But then 1 to 5%, you can also see that it sometimes it's come with the lead. And in Thailand, if you look at the Western Thailand, that's where they got the lead for to add into the bronze making, or even the brass. That you have the formation between zinc and lead. So if you use the lead from that area, and this has been tested from the ledoscopic analysis anyway. If you use the lead in this area, it's probably introduce zinc into your system as well. But then the brass production I'm talking here, that you have like a proper brass, 20-30% copper zinc alloy, which is totally different. And then we don't see that so far. We don't see any comparable evidence prior to 1900. So this is like the very first one that we see so far. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
Did
you,
I
Pira.
answer your question?
Okay, thank you. Any other question, please? Or maybe from me. I'm interested about how the metal age people in Thailand, how they living in the environment, is on base river occupation or mostly in land-based occupation, and how they distribute the material, the metal to other area.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. For the settlement pattern, for the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, so well, let's say that we started to see the change in the settlement pattern of during the transition period from the Hobbinian and the Neolithic. So I talk about like around the 5th century, 4th century millennium BC. We started to see the movement of people from but basically in the Hobbinian period. Normally we see the site associated with the rock shelter or the cave. And once you get into the Neolithic and also the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, we more and more it's become the sedentary community associated with the plain area, especially close to the river, the main river or the river tributaries, like rivers, small riverine, that kind of things. So people move into the plain and then settle the settlement close to that. Probably one thing we have to do the agriculture. So they mainly use occupy the plain area. Usually in like the small hill, because a lot of the flooding, probably to do with the water management. But then the rock shelter and cave are still used, especially the famous example is that the work by Professor Rasmi Chusongdet that she found a lot of the log coffin in the cave in the northern Thailand. So yes, the cave and rock shelter still had been continually used during the Bronze and the Iron Age. Yes, and in terms of the exchange, I would say river probably play a lot of played important roles, moving the copper or the material culture from one place to one place. Because I mean, you have the small river, the big river anyway, so you can use the riverine. How to say that? Medium for the transportation from one place to one place, and this is probably we already see that during the Neolithic as well, like the link between the South Asia and the southern China. You have a lot of river link between these two areas. Like you have Mekong, you have a different river system that can use to for the transportation, also the movement between the people from one place to one place. So I would say the riverine system that's probably play a lot of roles in this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pira. Any other question? Mas Ruli, ada? Belum? Okay, maybe more question from me. Because my study mostly on rock art, so any metal material that depicting on the rock shelter or cave art that on the metal period in Thailand?
That's very good questions. I only think of one example. The kettle drum, the bronze drum at the Tham Taduang in western part of Thailand. That's probably that's quite obvious in terms of the metal objects that you can I mean you can identify that from the style of the depiction. But apart from that, well, I'm not expert in the rock art, so that's probably the only thing I can think of. Maybe
Okay.
well, Tipawan probably the best person that can answer this. I'm sorry. Yeah. But apart from that, if you see any link with the metal, it's probably like the use of hematite, the use of the red oak to do the painting. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pira.
Yeah.
Any other question? No?
Mungkin yang mau bertanya bisa bahasa Indonesia, nanti kita bisa translate gitu ke bahasa Inggris kalau misalnya ada yang mau bertanya. Silakan.
Maybe Prof. Truman? Suaranya belum. Masih di mute.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Pira, so you have copper in Thailand, as you mentioned in your presentation. It means that you have chalcolithic period in Thailand, because in Indonesia we don't have copper. The ones we have is bronze and iron, and it reached Indonesia at the same time, the same period. So we don't have a bronze period and then iron period. How about you in Thailand? Do you mean that you have a chalcolithic period and then bronze, iron at the same time? What else?
The question of the 3S system, that's always like the big debate in the Thai, if not the South Asian archaeology anyway. The use of like the different terminology to define the periodization of the Thai of the South Asian history. So chalcolithic. So far, I personally, I would say I don't think we have that, because even you look at the very early, like the transition period, like let's say like in Ban Chiang or in Ban Non Wat, especially Ban Non Wat, they have a very good dating. They can see like a different transition going on. Even then, the early metals they have is both copper and bronze. So I would say that at the very beginning is about bronze, not so. So that's why we normally say it's a Bronze Age, not the Chalcolithic, because we never have any example that they use mainly just copper, unlike in the European context. That's quite obvious. But yeah, for us, it's probably the bronze, and that's linked back to the debate on the transmission of the knowledge from the north. As we have the famous between Professor one model proposed by Dr. Joyce White and Dr. Elizabeth Hamilton, and then you have the other model by Professor Charles Hyam, Dr. Roberto Chala, and then Dr. Vince Picott. Yeah, so both of them talking about the knowledge being transmitted into the area. So yeah, so that's why I'm thinking just only the Bronze Age, like the bronze consumption, the use of the bronze at the very beginning, not the copper. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the oldest site you have where the bronze and copper you found together?
Yeah. So now I'm going to refer to the date, the beginning of the use of the copper-based metals at 11, 12, or 11th century BC. Yeah. So nowadays we have a lot of sites to how to say that, to strengthen this date. So you have like in South China, so you have in Tian area like 𝘗𝘯𝘭𝘪𝘯 site in South China in near Kunming. So the earliest layer that they found the copper-based metal is like 11th century as well. In Myanmar, so that of Ai and Yong An, that's probably the similar date as well. In Thailand, you have Ban Chiang, Ban Non Wat, a lot of there are probably 4 or 5 sites that you can see that the beginning of the emergence of the bronze, the copper-based metals in the layer. That's from 11th century. In Vietnam as well, like in Dong Dao, is roughly like 13th, 12th century BC. So yeah, in general, now we see more and more sites with this like 11th, 12th century for the beginning of the use of the bronze, copper base and bronze in the layer. Yes.
Interesting. It's so very, very old. 11th century BC.
Yeah. But then if you like follow back to like the very early debate on this, we at starting point you have like in the very beginning of the Nonokta and Ban Chiang, they proposed that the metal probably like we started to use Southeast Asia probably started to use metal like 5th millennium BC, which is actually older, and then we know that the date wrong. Push that all the way to the 2nd millennium BC, and for now is we pushed like to the 11th century BC. So it's a bit younger and younger, I would say. Yeah, but I would say like 11 now is quite stable now for the date. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Truman and Dr. Pira for the question and answer. It's interesting related the Dongson period in Southeast Asia. How about in Thailand? There's a more connection between Thailand and Vietnam on the process of metal period there.
Yes, especially if you talk about the exchange network.
Yeah.
So by you already see from the Bronze Age anyway that the Seibon actually connected from the very western part of Southeast Asia to the mainland Southeast Asia all the way to the east. But then by the Iron Age, the whole mainland Southeast Asia, like the ASEAN country basically, linked together by not only the copper but also the different material cultures being circulated across. So by that time, the exchange network already extended to cover like everybody here. So yes, Vietnam and Thailand, there are a lot of connection between each other. But besides the metallurgical remains, there's also like the secondary burials in the jar burials, like in Sao Hin and in Sao Hin culture that we find comparable practice in the Northeast Thailand as well. So yeah, they had the people movement across the landscape from Vietnam into Thailand, and probably Thailand moved. So that's the whole mainland Southeast Asia without the border. So people just move between the place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting also when we research in Gua Harimau, we found some burial gift in the burial, like bracelet and some other material. So I think it's interesting there, and some pattern like in their bracelet there is a circular motif. Also we found in the pottery also, that also found in the Dongson, right? Something like that. Yeah. It's a similar motif there.
Yeah. Oh, and also there is a paper by Dr. Aurora Price again. There's the study at is it Bali? The site of Bali that they actually found
yes, in Bali.
The importation of the copper from mainland Southeast Asia to Bali during the Iron Age as well. Yeah. So I think, I mean, working on the network that's probably one of the area that we can continue, and you can see more and more like sub connection, like in the sub area, not just only the big picture, but we can more and more confine to the small connection between two different places better than before. Yeah.
Any other question? Ada pertanyaan yang lain, nanti mungkin bisa juga dalam bahasa Indonesia nanti kita sampaikan ke Dr. Pira. Tadi Dr. Pira sudah menjelaskan bahwa ada transisi ya dari budaya perunggu ke budaya besi, terus terakhir budaya kuningan yang bisa kita lihat tadi dari presentasinya. Selain itu yang menarik tadi disebutkan bahwa ada apa kayak tungku untuk peleburan logam yang cyclone inlet ya, sangat menarik itu. Kalau di kita itu di Candi Suku ya, Mas Hari, bisa dilihat ada gambarnya juga di sana. Tapi dia cuma dua lubang angin ya untuk meniup itu yang di Candi Suku.
Double piston blower. Yeah.
Yeah, double. So
the cyclone inlet or the mostly they use in Thailand or
So in Thailand, there's a double pipe or the cyclone inlet, mostly they use.
Oh, you mean talk about bellow?
Or yeah.
That is also the good question. We have no idea. I think Harry showed to me once that you have like from somewhere with the piston bellow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Thailand, no. I think we only have like the piston bellow, like the actual piston bellow, like for the past 300 years. But not before. Before that, we actually have no idea what kind of bellow are we talking about, because probably made of the organic. There is the lithograph by the French explorer in the 18th century in Cambodia, that they have like a pot bellow, like a very big pot bellow. So you use the foot to operate, like to push the air in. That's one of the evidence that we have. Apart from that, not really. Yeah. So mostly if you read the paper, they just assume that we probably use the piston bellow, but for the actual evidence, we don't see that in archaeological studies. Yeah. Only for the past 300 years.
No more. Any other question? Mas Ari ada komen?
Enggak ada sih, kan bukan penutup.
Oke, siap. Dari Mas Rudi ada pertanyaan tidak? Belum ada. Coba kita lihat di sini. Tadi ada Mbak Triwuryani udah keluar ya? Iya. Pak Lutfi Yondri atau Pak Ketut atau Bapak Ibu yang lain?
Maybe I just following your presentation. It was really interesting when you say that in Thailand. Maybe I believe that in Thailand, comparing to Indonesia territory, you have more sites being well dated, which is related to the early metal period, right? And in Indonesia, for instance, we have strong connection between the rise of the megalithic culture and then the early use of metal object in our prehistory. What about in Thailand? Do you have any like current states of early metal use and its relation with the rise of megalithic culture in Thailand or something like that, Dr. Pira?
So I'm basically asking my colleague.
Yeah, because in Indonesia we have like quite often some metal object or some object with a typical ornament on its surface found and depicted in the megalithic culture.
This I'm really not sure because yeah we have like we have some examples of the megalithic like the standing stone in the metal edges in Thailand, but there's very few. I mean, we're not talking about. I mean, for Indonesia, you probably have more. I mean, it's more well defined than when you talk about megalithic. The megalithic that we normally talk about in the Thai archaeology is probably belong to after like the 6th, 7th century. Yeah, that we start to see like the actual use of the standing stone as the boundary in Buddhism, or basically. But prior to that is basically sporadic. And I think one of the things is that not many people like do the actual research on this. So yeah, I cannot give you like a solid explanation for that. Yeah, because if you look into like the megalithic culture in India itself, in South India, yeah, that's very well defined. They have domain, they have like everything that that's talking about the megalithic, or even in Indonesia. But for us, even for the whole mainland Southeast Asia, well, you have like the plain of jars, if you call that the megalithic, and that's associated with the Iron Age as well. If you read the paper by Professor 𝘗𝘗𝘈𝘈, who excavated that, yeah. But apart from that, they're not actual megalithic that I can think of, or even my colleague here. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's I just noticed that it's quite interesting because in Indonesia I don't know a lot of early megalithic periods strongly related to the early metal period also, and also to the proto-historic period, and sometimes it's contemporary with some periods of early kingdoms in Indonesia.
I was wondering, like, how is that comparable with the megalithic in South India? Because by Iron Age, I mean the Indian were very active, connecting with the I mean, like connecting between the West Bengal Bay and the Southeast Asia. So, can you see any like link between the megalithic in Indonesia and megalithic in South India? So
good question. Not yet. Not yet. Maybe we can make some collaboration on that for the early connection, and then like let's say like just comparative studies between the southern India, because we know that from only several from pottery, and then from the glass beads, and then from the some materials traceable with the trace element analysis. We found the connection between India and island Southeast Asia in Indonesia. Thank you very much, Dr. Pira. Very nice presentation.
Yeah. There's one question maybe for
the development of the materials for like for war between the kingdoms. That's a metal material for war.
Like arrow, something like what we call a spear. The tip of spear, projectile.
You mean during the prehistory or
Yeah,
in
during the prehistory.
Well, we have that's from the site called Ban Wang Hai in North Thailand, northern Thailand. You have it's actually look like a spear, but actually it's like the size is probably like 1 or 1.5 meters. It's actually a sword. It's a like shape of the sword, and that's probably like the few example that we have for like the actual weapons. Apart from that, you have the spear, which is maybe it's a weapon for hunting. Because if you read the paper by Professor Hyam, normally at the like moving toward the end of the Iron Age, we starting to see a lot of violence going on, like the evidence from the skeleton, like from Pumsnei and also from Ban Wat. You see the violence, the conflict going on. But then if you talk about the weapon itself, well, anything you can use as weapon, right? You can use the stone to throw into the other people as well. But then for the metals, it's normally spear or like the whole sickle, and you have the rare instance of the sword as well, but not common. Yeah. But then if you talk about like a proper like axe, sword, and that kind of thing, that probably once you move into the historical period, yes, you start to see more and more. But prehistory is not that. It's not that common compared to the historical period. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pira. Maybe it's our last session for the answer and question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your great presentation. Now we invite Mas Hari Octavianus Sofyan for the closing remarks. The time is yours, Mas Hari, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak AA, atas for your time. Dr. Pira, I will maybe presentation or talk in Indonesia, so I will make a resume from your presentation. So it's will I think it's audience will be better to know. Oke, Bapak Ibu semuanya, terima kasih atas waktunya yang masih bertahan untuk saat ini. Saya akan melakukan resume dari presentasi Dr. Pira Veunan. Seperti yang diketahui bahwa Dr. Pira Veunan itu adalah murid dari Profesor Nata Pintu di Thailand ya. Kalau di Indonesia arkeometalurgis pertama adalah Pak Profesor Timbul Haryono, terus di Filipina ada 𝘗𝘗𝘆. Mereka bertiga adalah archaeometallurgis dari tahun 80-an dari Pennsylvania University, muridnya dari Profesor Vincent Pigot, seperti itu. Dan Dr. Pira adalah penerus untuk archaeometallurgy di Thailand. Seperti yang diketahui bahwa memang di Thailand saat ini sudah banyak berkembang untuk penelitian archaeometallurgy. Jika saya kombinasikan seperti di Indonesia, di Thailand sendiri sudah ada dua ya pembabakannya dari Bronze Age dan Iron Age seperti itu. Sedangkan di Indonesia kita masih Bronze and Iron Age dari pembabakan yang diberikan oleh Van Heckeren tahun 1950. Jadi kita masih belum tahu bahwa kita ada perbedaan nggak ketika masuk ke antara bronze dan iron atau mereka masuk bersamaan seperti itu. Tetapi kalau di Thailand itu sudah dapat diketahui ya bahwa ada Bronze Age dan Iron Age setelahnya. Dan Thailand juga menjadi situs penting karena ada dua sumber logam, terutama tembaga yang ada di Thailand, yaitu di Pulon di utara Thailand utara, dan di Khao Prachan di sana, dan di Laos ada juga Sepon atau Filaburi Kompleks. Jadi ada 3 sumber bahan logam yang ada di Asia Tenggara di sumbernya di sana. Dan untuk sepon sendiri seperti yang Dr. Pira berikan insight-nya tadi bahwa ada hubungannya dengan Indonesia, yaitu di Bali. Bahwa di Bali kemungkinan bahan-bahannya itu dari sepon atau dari Laos. Nah, di Kawong Pracan itu sendiri itu walaupun dia adalah sumber bahan tembaga, tetapi daerah-daerah yang ada di sekitar Kawong Pracan sendiri itu kebanyakan juga impor pada saat kemudian itu dari sepon. Nah, ini yang menariknya ketika ada yang namanya analisis menggunakan analisis ini ya lab isotop analisis. Jadi kita bisa melacak sampai kepada sumber bahan dari tembaga atau sumber ini ya sumber ini apa namanya itu sumber untuk bahan-bahan logamnya sendiri. Jadi walaupun misalnya ada situs-situs dekat sana, tetapi belum tentu itu sumber bahannya ada di dekat situ. Jadi belum tentu. Jadi ada kemungkinan hal-hal yang lain yang bisa kita lakukan seperti yang Dr. Pira bilang tadi bahwa kemungkinan bahwa di Sepon atau Filabori Kompleks itu bahan-bahannya lebih murah. Jadi mereka mengambilnya ke sana karena bahannya lebih murah dan lebih. Jadi ada sebenarnya benefit ekonomi di sana. Gitu. Nah, pada saat Iron Age itu, pada saat sumber Iron Age itu bahwa Sepon itu menjadi bahan, menjadi pemain kunci di Asia Tenggara. Jadi sumber tambang Sepon itu digunakan di berbagai macam wilayah, seperti adanya di Bali tadi. Jadi orang-orang Bali itu mengimpor bahan tembaga itu dari wilayah Sepon atau wilayah Laos tadi. Dari mana bisa diketahui? Itu dari analisis lebih isotop tadi ya. Nah, tadi yang menarik juga tentang kasiterit ya. Kasiterit itu adalah tim oksida atau SN2. Kenapa itu sangat penting? Karena itu adalah ini ya tentang apa namanya itu karena itu penting sekali. Kenapa? Karena itu ada biji-biji timah yang ada di dalam mineral kasiterit tadi. Nah, yang menarik bahwa tadi Dr. Pira membilangkan bahwa di mineral kasiterit ada yang namanya bronze cementation. Itu atau merujuk kepada yang namanya proses pembuatan logam perunggu itu melalui metode sementasi. Itu berbeda sekali dengan yang misalnya yang kita lihat bahwa misalnya dengan peleburan langsung atau smelting gitu. Jadi bronze cementation itu bagaimana sebenarnya tekniknya itu digunakan ketika timah itu meresap ke dalam tembaga yang tidak meleleh sepenuhnya. Jadi kalau misalnya teknik smelting atau melting itu timah dan tembaga dilelehkan semuanya membentuk perunggu. Tetapi kalau tekniknya bronze cementation tadi itu timah dan tembaga itu sedikit demi sedikit itu dipanaskan, kemudian ada terjadi reaksi, kemudian membentuk paduan. Jadi lebih hemat energi lah bisa dibilang seperti itu. Jadi teknik ini juga digunakan pada masa lalu. Bagaimana sebenarnya orang-orang masa lalu itu menggunakan berbagai macam teknik gitu untuk melebur logam. Nah, yang kemudian nanti adanya namanya cyclone furnace. Sini saya juga baru ini ya, baru melihat atau baru mendengar bahwa ada namanya cyclone furnace tadi seperti itu. Karena di Indonesia sendiri belum ada gitu. Yang adanya adalah yang ada buyur tadi, yang ada lubang angin, lubang udara tadi. Tapi cyclone furnace itu seperti Bapak Ibu misalnya ada ini ya, ada apa namanya itu kompor siklon itu. Nah, kompor siklon itu seperti itu gitu. Jadi semua udara itu rata itu rata, dia bukan cuma dari satu sumber saja tapi semuanya rata, itu membentuk sebuah siklon atau ini ya apa namanya itu lingkaran, seperti lingkaran api. Jadi pemanasannya akan lebih stabil. Itu yang menarik dari bentuk siklon. Dan ini teknologinya sudah lama ya, sekitar 2000 tahun yang lalu. Nah, yang terakhir itu adalah tentang beras. Nah, ya ini menarik kenapa? Karena teknologi beras atau teknologi kuningan itu sebenarnya di kita juga masih sangat-sangat ini ya, sangat-sangat jarang. Pada saat awal abad Masehi sampai ke abad ke-10, kuningan itu sangat hampir tidak ada di Indonesia seperti itu. Kalau misalnya Bapak Ibu melihat ada yang namanya artefak-artefak kuningan yang berasal dari zaman Hindu Buddha, dan itu dipastikan bahwa itu adalah mungkin palsu ya. Kenapa? Karena kita tidak menemukan sama sekali kuningan di dalam artefak-artefak kuno, hanya 1 atau 2 saja. Dan kenapa? Karena bahannya Bapak Ibu. Jadi memang bahan dari logam sendiri itu mengikuti ketentuan alam. Kalau misalnya tembaga itu meleleh pada 1083 derajat, itu pasti akan meleleh seperti itu. Nah, kalau misalnya bahan-bahan misalnya seng, itu melelehnya sekitar 907 derajat. Tapi dia tidak meleleh. Kalau seng itu dia akan menguap. Ketika dia mencapai pada titik didihnya, dia akan menguap, akan evaporate gitu, seperti itu. Seng atau zinc will be evaporate. Nah, itu yang menarik. Kenapa? Karena ketika dipanaskan, dia butuh tungku tertutup. Yang berbeda dengan misalnya pemanasan pada bronze gitu, atau pada perunggu. Itu pakai tungku terbuka bisa. Kenapa? Karena dia dari padat akan menjadi cair. Tapi kalau seng, dia akan jadi padat, akan menjadi uap. Seperti itu. Kalau misalnya kita tidak yang namanya melakukan pengendalian pada suhu di atmosfer, ya, dia bisa hilang menjadi uap. Sehingga kemungkinan mungkin ya logam-logam yang ada di Indonesia itu kemungkinan dari recycle sebenarnya. Memang mungkin ada yang seng gitu seperti itu, tapi kemudian di remelting atau didaur ulang, sehingga ketika pada saat proses daur ulang itu yang tertinggal hanya tembaga atau perunggu saja, sehingga tidak ada yang namanya ini ya beras atau kuningan tadi. Oke, mungkin itu saja dari saya ya. Jadi memang banyak sekali pengetahuan yang baru tentang logam-logam yang ada di archaeometallurgy yang ada di Thailand, dan ada koneksinya antara Thailand dengan Indonesia, gitu seperti itu, seperti banyaknya sumber-sumber bahan yang perlu kita pelajari lagi. Dan memang kita masih tertinggal jauh untuk archaeometallurgy-nya dari Thailand sendiri yang sudah banyak mendapatkan merangkai sejarah-sejarah archaeometallurgy-nya, tapi di Indonesia sendiri masih banyak sendiri yang masih bolong-bolong. Mungkin itu saja dari saya untuk bahasa Indonesia. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih Mas Haris Sofyan untuk closing remarks-nya. Finally, we have reached the end of this online talk show. I would like to say thank you again to Dr. Pira Veunan as a speaker for the great presentation. And thank you also to Prof. Truman and Mas Hari Octavian Sofyan and the other audience for the active participation. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kita bertemu lagi nanti di bulan depan untuk edisi online Talkshow CPAS ke-37. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much, Pira.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so much,
Very,
Dr.
very-
Pira.
Thank you.
Thank you.